So,
Uh-oh. So, there it is. Okay.
We're almost there?
Aw.
oh, I'm sorry.
You do. There it is.
Yeah, okay.
Now you need the website. So that,
Welcome to Join Me. Please enter your conference ID and press the pound key. The conference will begin when the organizer arrives.
So in other words, when Debbie dials in.
she's in. She just emailed me. We just need to put the site up. Yeah.
Beep. Whoa.
Is that as big as that thing will go? That the site?
The picture?
Yeah.
No, he can maximize
okay.
it to take the thing, I think. Oh, or is that as big as it's gonna get? So when she comes on, just push this a bunch of times and turn the volume up.
We are on. Okay.
Yeah.
It's done.
And here we are stuck in these.
There's a thing on the wall, and then you can do that. It looks like a
Don't we want to join the meeting now?
Yeah, you do. You have to hit that.
Oh, okay.
thingy is a Western expression.
What?
Like a what you did, a thingy.
Thingy, yeah.
Push knock to go in. Waiting for this one. Hello. Ugh. Just call by computer, see what happens. Why not?
I think you're not gonna have good sound if you do that.
Never mind, Gary. Exit out of there. Click again on the screen. No?
Actually, oh man.
Escape?
Nothing.
In conference audio or dial in. She said we've already dialed in though. We're on hold, right?
Yeah.
You just got to get back to your
We can try that
Clo-
number instead.
close. Isn't that the same number you called?
That's his code, yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. Gary, go ahead and close out that dial thing and hit the knock to join. It's acting like there's no signal.
Yep. Are you emailing?
Should have went with Singular.
Well, why don't we just start over?
Hang up the line and put that up first and then dial in.
Go away.
Yeah. Okay. What do we do first?
Shall I?
Yeah.
Put your site up first and then dial
Oh, well, let me write this down. Oh, is it gonna come up again?
in. She's not hearing our audio. We're on speaker.
Yeah, we were, yeah. Deanna? For a long time since Deanna something. And Penny.
Visions of work.
So we gonna try again?
I guess so. Yeah.
Mhm.
You want to start here or do?
Go ahead and do the cookbook thing. Okay. We don't want any.
Okay, now.
Okay, now will you
Yeah, I missed it.
the drop down arrow for me real quick? Right here.
Right.
Yeah, I just want to see if what number, because we need the correct number for San Francisco.
Is it not on the
Oh,
email?
okay. Yeah, it
There
is.
it
Your
is.
projector
that
has been found.
Okay.
Okay.
This one.
Yeah, that one.
Where was it?
Carrie knew. Near Kelly's desk. You recognized it.
Yeah.
But we want to be able to see the
What
screen.
do I know?
We will. Hold on.
You will.
Okay.
I know it was in there.
Oh. Come on.
No dial tone?
There it is.
Welcome to Join Me. Please enter your conference ID and press the pound key. The conference will begin when the organizer arrives.
See, the
I'm
gun
gonna
should
tell her
already
we're
be
on.
there. That's the problem.
Oh, shoot.
See? Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
You are the last party in the conference.
She's coming on, I think.
This part is missing the
No,
part.
she doesn't have audio from us.
You will now be put to the conference.
Okay, good.
Can you hear us now, Debbie?
Go ahead and type her back a message. Tell her we're in, but no sound. We won't hear her either.
I don't know how to spell
She'll figure it out
conference.
Don't worry about it.
You are the last party in the conference.
We know that. We're the only party in the conference. Besides Debbie. And if we're last, that means she should already be here.
By the way, it's really warm in here. You'll find that out in about 5 minutes.
I think you're so down.
Yeah, I feel a little bit.
You're warm because you're working hard, but
'Cause I'm falling almost to my death, I guess, at the table. Oh.
You will now be placed into the conference.
Okay, we're good. Hello?
Hi, can you hear me?
Hey,
And
there.
now, thank you.
I don't know what the problem was. I've had trouble with Join Me all day, so I'm sorry about that. I just had to keep disconnecting and trying again.
Well, we got it now. We're good to go.
All right, so let's get started. How is everyone?
Okay, Debbie. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
Debbie, just so you know who's here,
Uh-huh.
we have Gary and
That's me.
and Kat, who will be doing a lot of the web work, that really 99.9% of it in Dutch, and Jim Brewer and myself and Marcia, who is
Hi,
the events.
Deborah.
She's the events
Hi.
coordinator.
Okay, great. Sounds good. Does everyone have a good view of the screen?
We do. We
We
have
do.
that on the screen.
And my audio's loud enough for you?
It is.
Okay, if it's too loud, let me know, because I turned my mic way up. What I walk through here is the PDF that I give everyone when a site is complete. It's your documentation. The site is still a work in progress, so is the documentation. And I had an issue
Hold
this
on a moment.
morning. I don't know if you had noticed, but all of the online news archives that I had added disappeared, and it's because of a plugin conflict, and I decided I just want to rebuild the way it's done because I want this to be future-proofed. I don't want to use a system that might cause a problem if you update a plugin. I really want you to have the ability to add sidebars to each page, but I need to build something custom that I can trust. So part of the documentation is going to get rewritten after I do this in the next couple of days. But let's start. You'll know enough from this to go in and edit content, create pages, everything you should need to do to get in there and start refining the content.
And we can still call you when we mess it up?
Absolutely. And I'm not actually going to give you access until I have a chance to make a full backup. So it might be tomorrow before I fill in the password here. I need to go in and
Cool.
make sure I have a complete duplicate of the site before I do that. So the documentation starts with your access info. After the site is live, it's going to be this link. Until then, you can work on it on my server, and it's just, you know, the path on my server with the same WP admin after it. When you click that, it brings you to this login page where you're going to enter this username and the password that I'll give you. And that takes you into what I refer to throughout this as your dashboard. First page of the dashboard, pretty bland. There's nothing going on here. Once you've got some content editing going on, you're going to see activity. So if you want to check and, you know, say Gary said he was going to add something and you want to look and see if it got added, that's all going to show up here. Major updates to WordPress and plugin updates should be done by a web professional. Because what happens with the news is a perfect example. Occasionally there can be a conflict and something can break, and you want, on a live site, you want to make sure that the person doing it can jump in and quickly resolve it. So I will teach you how to run updates if you'd like, and how to avoid those conflicts, but I usually recommend that people have me do them. It can take me, you know, 15 minutes to have it all completely updated. The small incremental updates in WordPress. So when this goes from 3.8.1 to 3.8.2, actually now we're in 4.1.1, it'll be done automatically, and whoever email address is in here as the admin will get a notification. Those never break anything, so don't need to worry about it. But the big updates should be done by me or another web professional, as I said, because things can break. So on to the styles. So when I'm talking about styles, I'm talking about your red headings, the fact that the main ones are all caps, these are a little smaller, the text style.
Debbie, can I interrupt you, please?
Sure.
Are you going to give us a style sheet, an ID sheet?
When I wrap this up, I will give you a PDF that has all the color hex codes and everything like that that you need.
Thank you.
Not a problem. So you won't change these through the editor. This is how these will get changed. And you can see there's an image in here that points to this, but I'm going to walk you through this. When you go to Pages, let's open up Home Photo Front. Say you wanted to create a new section and you wanted it to have this same heading style. The way you can tell what this is just by clicking in it and looking at this drop down. This is your style drop down. So it's got, this happens automatically when you start typing in the editor, it creates paragraphs. But your other heading styles are here, and you can just select these. You can type, if I wanted to create a new block with a heading 2, I would do heading 2, I would highlight it, or whatever the title was. Select heading 2, and then just start typing, and it's normal paragraph text. So you don't need to go here and choose a color, even though you have the ability to do that. All these styles are in the CSS, and they're just there for you already. You just select the type of content you're creating. Editing pages. So let's step back. All of your pages you'll find in this menu, other than what we're going to talk about further on, the custom post types like clubs and news. Everything else is here in Pages. You're not using posts on this site because you don't have a blog, although I did build in blog functionality in case you ever decide to add one. So it's there. We just have to tweak a few styles to get that up and running. But your pages are here. You can quickly search if you wanted to edit news and more. Or let's pick one that has a lot of good content. You can just start typing the name of the page here and hit search, and it's going to show you just that page. So as the site gets larger, you don't have to, go scrolling through looking for the particular page. Just type it in the search and let it find it for you. A lot of people don't realize that's there, and they think they have to go through all these. If you've got a dozen pages of pages, that's time consuming. So then to edit the page, you can click the title of the page or this little edit button. And this takes you into the editing screen. The titles on each page are pulled from the main page title. So this is what is showing up right here. So you don't need to type that. It's pulled from what you put in here as the page title. Then just start entering your content. A couple tips about adding copy that I'd like to point out. When you add copy, it wraps automatically, so don't try to break lines. When you're just typing, it'll wrap around. When you're ready for a new paragraph and you hit enter, it automatically, enter or return, creates a new paragraph along with its white space. So say you were typing an address, and remember this is in here, it's something tricky that comes up a lot with my clients, and you actually did want a line break. You can do that by just typing the first line, holding shift and hitting return, and that gives you a single line break. There will be times when you need content formatted like that. It's just a good trick to remember, so you don't have all that white space from making paragraph returns every time you return. This will be here because it'll be something you'll definitely forget. So look in your documentation if you run into that issue.
Debbie, can the page be broken into columns?
No, the style of the site is that this is the left column and this is the right. I can quite easily add a column button if you think you're going to have columnar data, and that's probably not a bad idea. There's a little button that I'll add right here that looks like two brackets, and when you open it, it'll let you create any number of responsive columns in this section. So I will definitely add that, and I'll add it to your documentation.
Thank you.
Okay, so the banner on each page, your home page is different because it's a slider, but the banners, you have the ability to have these static images. If you don't put anything in there, it's just going to default to what's here in appearance header. And it says this in your documentation. So it's here, so you don't have to worry about putting a banner in. It's got a default image in case you forget. If you do want a unique image, all you have to do is upload it here in the featured image block. It's automatically sized and cropped to the correct dimensions. All you want to do is make sure that it's at least the max width, which is right here. I've given you that, and I've also given you what they are now in case you wanted to crop them exactly the same. But it'll crop for you. If you were concerned about the way it was cropping the image, like cutting off something that you didn't want cut off, you might want to do it yourself and then just upload it at the perfect size. The featured image dialog is very straightforward. When you open it up, it gives you the ability to upload a file or pick one from your media library. And I'm going to give you a detailed video training link to this. But you'll want to put in a title that's good for accessibility. If anyone's using accessibility equipment to access the site, that's how they know what page they're on, or what the image is about. And you want to put in alt text because it's good for search engines. So anytime you upload an image, you want this title and alt text filled out. You can also crop right here in WordPress. So if I uploaded this and say it was 3,000 pixels wide, which is way too big, and we don't want images that big on the site because we'll bog down people on mobile devices, I could hit edit image, say I really only wanted this to be 500 pixels. When I type that first dimension in here, it automatically scales it proportionally, so you don't have to worry about getting that right. And then you just hit scale and back, and it's updated, and you hit set featured image. So
is there a pixel size that's at the upper end?
Right here is the banner size. I would try to avoid images larger than this on the site. There's no place where you would need them that large, and they will eat up people's mobile bandwidth. If this is being downsized by the system, but if you've uploaded a 5,000 pixel wide, 2 meg image, it's still downloading that file to serve it. So in general, on any site, you don't want to fill up your servers with images that are way larger than you need. And
Right,
you've got
so-
the ability right here in WordPress to quickly scale them.
Okay, so we can scale them in WordPress. We don't have to compress them before we upload them.
Right, did you see where I just scaled the image that I was
Yeah,
showing
yeah.
you? Okay, so you can also do that from your media library. When you come in here and you can see all the media that's been uploaded to the site, you can click any image and come in here and hit edit and do the same thing I did. Just enter the dimensions right there to scale it. It'll scale it throughout the site. This actually does cut down the size of the image. It's not just a visual scale.
Oh, okay, good. Okay.
If you had 20 images you knew you were going to use and you wanted to upload them all at once rather than doing them one at a time on each page, you can also just come into your media library to add new and drag a whole batch of images in. This has a nice search too, so you can search on any image you've uploaded and find it quickly. So let's,
Provided we give them a name.
now go ahead, sorry.
I said provided we give them a name, right?
You can search on the file name.
Okay.
And usually that's something intuitive. It's a good idea if you use I used, for that icon for the news item, I used Easter in the title. So name your images in an intuitive way. That's very important for SEO too. You don't want image names that are IMG 6543. You want something that's search engine readable because the search engines look at the name of an image file and it's indexed along with the site. So those keywords in the image names are important. So the featured image is your banner, but you can also add images anywhere you want in a post. And this section of the documentation walks you through exactly what you want to do that. If I wanted another image right here, I'm just going to place my cursor. Whether I'm going to float it right or left, I'm going to put my cursor at the beginning of the line. Hit Add Media. Choose the image from the library. I probably want to come in and type some alt text. That in this case I aligned it left. You can do left, center, right, none. center and none are block level. They're going to fill the space and center in the space. You want to click link to none, which is also in here. Otherwise, it's going to open in a blank window. You see that all over the web, and it's just because people don't know that. No one wants to see a thumbnail open in a blank white window, so just click link to none. Unless you want to link it to a web page, then you would do custom URL. And you have the ability to do that on any image. You can tell it full size. If it's large and you know you just want a square thumb, you can automatically have it set it as the website thumbnail size. And then you would hit insert into page, and there. The padding is automatic. The white border around it is automatic. If we go look at this page, all of that's being done by the style sheet. Any image that's uploaded is being styled this way, so you don't have to do any of that.
Debbie, just would you stop there a second? I don't know if it matters to anybody in the room besides me. But when you look at that, the text, what was in the next one? Yeah, look at that text right up next to finding the perfect home. You see that widow that's hanging out on the first graph? The word area?
Yeah.
I don't know if that, Jim, I don't know if that makes you crazy too, but...
Well, you know, generally it's going to be a little different in the editor than what you see here.
Oh, okay.
Come over and check it and see if it's really a problem. Because we can't get an exact match. You're dealing with a different width in your editor. You know, you can try to drag it and try to get it to exactly line up. But the thing about widows, and I get where you're coming from because I was an editor, it bothers me too, but on a responsive site, you can't force a line break because what happens when they start at a different size, you're going to see an odd break with a lot of white space.
So in other words, don't mess with the widows.
Yeah, you got to leave them and just go, okay, and accept it and move on. It's frustrating, but it's one of the things with mobile sites that we just have to live with.
You're saying if there'll be a widow on one kind of device and not on another?
Exactly. Because it all depends on the width they're looking at it. It all wraps based on the device width. So if you decide you don't want this image anymore, or you want to change the alignment, you've got this quick image edit bar right here. You can do that here. You could say, well, I really want it on the right, or let's just center it and have it eat up the whole space. Want to get rid of it, you just click X. And then you always hit update and go check what you've done. So this goes through all of that, even the link to part. I always tell people the first time you're editing images, just have this next to you and read through it as you go to make sure you cover all this stuff. There's a lot of custom content on your site. So on a simple site, everything might be in pages. I tried to break out as much as I could into very intuitive editing interfaces so it would be easier. So, for example, your home page. When you go into Pages and open the home page, and the name of it is Oakmont Village Welcome Home, so I'm just going to search up here on the word welcome. All you're going to see here is this block right here, which appears right here at the top. The blocks down here that you see are a custom post type, and I think I showed you this when you were in my office. All you have to do is click on Home Blocks, and this walks you through that. There's an image explaining what I'm talking about here in case later on it gets confusing. This will show you all the blocks you've entered so you can edit them. Everything's automatic here. You're just going to enter the text, upload the featured image, which is going to be automatically sized, loaded left, given a white border, and then you will enter the link, the page on the site that you want that content block to go to by just selecting it right here, and it'll create the Learn More link.
Hold on, I don't get it.
Okay,
so
let's break these pages out. Hang on a second. Let me show you by showing you over here and then there. So this, Oakmont Lifestyle, and as you enter these, the most recent one is going to show up at the top. This is a home block, one of these. So the title is Oakmont Lifestyle, that correlates to this. This
Yeah.
is the blurb.
And that's the
Right
home
here.
block. There is much to choose from.
What?
The home block is the copy. There is much to choose from.
Right.
Okay. Is
But
it-
the home block is this whole thing. Each one of these, in the documentation I've got a line around, each one of these is a home block. They're content blocks that appear on your home page.
And so to edit them, you just go to that block.
Right.
Okay.
And then you would hit update. And then let me get back to that other window. The link populates this, the featured image, whatever you upload here populates this little block. Now, what if you want to add a new one? All you have to do, let's just flip this back up over here so it doesn't get too confusing, is come into Home Blocks, Add New, and it's going to appear above everything else that's here. It's like a news feed where most recent is first. So whatever you add there will appear here. If for some reason you didn't like that, you wanted it to be farther down in the list, you can always just change the date, and it's going to be most recent at the top. So you could bump something down by just changing the date to an earlier date. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So that's the home block content. And I'll get to the sidebar later where we see this. That's going to come in when we talk about your custom sidebars. So clubs and organizations, same kind of interface. You're going to click on clubs and organizations. If you need to edit one, you can find it in the list. If you want to add a new one, just enter the title, description, meeting details, and let me show you a club listing so you can see how these fields connect to what's over here. Let's go to one that had a pretty good
Debbie, can I break in here just a second? We have a very slow DSL connection, and it takes a little while for the window to come up.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I'll go more slowly.
Okay.
Let me, does anybody know of a club that had an image with it, a good image? Maybe it's
Try the
got a
big-
nice photo, so
No, the
there we go.
The symposium has a lot of images.
No, I got it. We're on one. So wherever the club had an image on their page, I went ahead and added it, and those are, let me show you how these correlate to the club field. This is the title of the club. So let's go to this listing. That's what you're going to enter here, the title. Then you have this description block right here. This is going into the main field in the content editor. You have meeting details. And then that's populating this block. If nothing is entered in the editor in this meeting details area, the title doesn't even show up. Nothing will appear there. It's conditional. And then you've got, and tell me please if I go too fast. I'm going to try to slow down here so you can see where I am. You've got this contact information field. This is populating the right column, contact. And if they had an image they wanted for the club, you have a special image upload field here that's just simply image upload. You can't do anything but that here. Let me show you what that looks like if you're adding a new one. It just gives you this add image button. You're going to drag it in, or you can drag it into here and hit select, or pick one from the media library. With the clubs, since they're custom post type, the images are associated with the post, so you're going to have to upload them each time. I didn't think there would be an instance where two clubs would be reusing an image, but if there is, you will have to duplicate that. But that should be fine. I mean, in the case of clubs, I didn't have any that would have created an issue there. Then this is just a sidebar that's feeding in, and I'll explain that. But when you enter this data, it populates everywhere. The title fills in this list. It'll show up alphabetically here. It'll show up in this one where it's supposed to be. You have to make sure you check a category for it to show up in the category list. If you're not seeing it in the category list, it's because you forgot to check a category here. And you can add new ones. If something comes up and you don't have an appropriate category, you can add one right here. And then that's it. I mean, it will also populate as soon as I get this done. I got sidetracked by the navigation issue and some other problems on the site. But over here on the Homestead at Oakmont section where we talk about clubs, we're going to have just a title list, and it's going to populate that too. I mean, you won't have to do anything there. It's all going to be automatic. And we were... Right, we're going to list that as a page in here. We have the content for that, a paragraph that says, you know, a wide variety of clubs, and then it's just going to pull in the titles of the clubs from all these entries.
I see you using categories. Are you going to be, do we also use tags?
No, this is not a blog. The categories are just for the purpose of filling in this category listing here. There's no, I don't see any reason to have tags on clubs.
So we won't be using any, doing any blog pages?
Well, you can have a blog on the site, but that's not connected to this club
Mm-hmm.
system.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, you can have a blog. We would have to, that wasn't part of the scope of the project, but I did build in the functionality. There are some things we'd have to do if you wanted to blog, but
It's there if we
that doesn't apply to this.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that doesn't apply to this, so. Same thing with the news items. They're a custom post type. All you have to do, these are going to be for any items after the newsletter comes out. Those interim things that you want to put up there before the next newsletter. You're going to give it a title. It's important on these that you give it a short excerpt because sometimes these might be long, these news items. So you'll want to come down and type a brief excerpt in the excerpt field because that's what's pulling in. Let me go over to the news page. Whatever you put in the excerpt is what's pulling in here. And this is going to show only the current month. It'll list everything you've entered for the current month. Each one of these will link to a full story page of its own. And in the right column here and at the bottom of that entry, I'm going to have a full archive that's going to go to a month and year archive of all those news stories.
Debbie, that particular one right there, that's a kind of a good example, the balloon man. All he's got is a cut line, so that's all we would need to put in the excerpt part, correct? I mean, that little bit of copy is all there is for that particular
Right,
picture.
so I just copied it exactly
Yeah.
and stuck it down here. Unfortunately, when they're really short like that, there's no way to avoid the system creating a full post page. So you're still going to have these single story pages, even for short entries. It's an automated system. So
Okay.
yeah, but you know, that's pretty typical, and that's the way a blog or any other kind of dynamic content entry system works. So people are used to that. So let's go and make sure I didn't miss anything here. And I want to add, I forgot to put in your documentation about the club categories. I'm going to make sure I add that. Okay. This talks about the news item. And then here's some more just basic editing information. When you're in a page or any one of these custom post type bits of content and you want to add links to things, this shows you how to do that in the editor. And some of you may know that if you've worked in WordPress, but I like to include all this in here anyway. If I wanted to link some content, I'm just going to use the link button. You would highlight the text first. So if I were going to link Oakmont, maybe to something, page on the web about Oakmont, I would highlight that, click the link button, enter the web address. Now, if I'm going to an external site outside of our site, I would want to click this open in a new window so they don't leave completely. It keeps it open behind it. But if I wanted to go to content that's already in the site, you don't have to do this. You just click the page you want to link to, or club, or any news item, anything right here, you can pick from this drop-down list. And you can also search it to quickly find it. So you would just highlight, if I was trying to link to architectural, I'd just highlight that, click add link. If I don't want the link, later I decide you don't want to link it at all, you just click the remove link button. And an important thing to remember about the editor is when you hover over any of these, they tell you what they do. So if you're not sure, just hover over the buttons and see if you can find what you're looking for. This is called the kitchen sink, the toolbar toggle. If you come in and someone else has been editing and they've toggled this, you're going to see a very limited set of buttons. So if you're not seeing what you want, check and make sure that hasn't been collapsed, and you'll get your second row again. There's a video that I'll show you at the end of this, not show you today, but I'm also giving you a collection of training videos with this that goes into detail on how to use this editor, how to use the buttons, dealing with images. It's very thorough, and I find that people understand better and can retain it better by going back and watching that than if I put it in here. The videos that I make available when I do training are very high quality. I pay over $500 a year to make them accessible to my clients. They're not something I pulled off the web. They're really good. So we talked about the media library and how you can edit your images there, but there is, I'll go ahead and show you this link. Over here, this is a page for my clients, and these are kept up to date too with the current version of WordPress. There's a good overview of the media library in here, and it'll show you all the details of editing images, anything you want to know about working with your images. Your navigation menus, and by those we're going to be talking about the main menu. We're also looking at the resident drop-down, so the I want to menu, and you have, the news archives are going to be there. I wanted your online newsletter to be something you could just simply add a link to and drag into a right column menu. I had already built that, and that's what disappeared because of that plugin update. So I'll have that redone within a couple of days, but I can show you how that works on the menu side anyway. So appearance menus is where I went to access this. To edit any menu, the first thing you're going to do is select the menu you want to work on from this drop down at the top. Is everyone caught up in seeing where my cursor is?
Yep.
Okay, great. You have to hit select. I find this really irritating because in most drop downs when you click it, it automatically goes, and this doesn't, so this hangs clients up a lot. You have to hit select for it to actually switch to the menu. All of these items are drag and drop. So if you had a meeting and everybody decided the lifestyle should be before home, you can simply drag the whole thing up above it. You can move things around within menus if you wanted, this one to be above this one. If you want to make it a child of the page so that it shows up in the drop down, and by that I'm talking about these drop down items, all you have to do is, let's just drag it over so I can show you. It's harder to drag it back than it is to drag it in. Let's make this one a child of this one. You just drag it over, and it stair steps it over, and then it knows that whole thing is a child of the one above it. So it's all drag and drop. If you wanted to change the label of a page, maybe you decided the title of this page is too long for a nav item, and you might just want to call it assisted living. You can change that to whatever you want right here. And the page title will still be the same, but the navigation label will be shorter, whatever you want it to be. So it's pretty easy to get in here and edit these. The one thing you want to be aware of on your site is, moving them around is fine, changing the order in the drop downs. We do have a pretty full nav bar here, so you can't just add a page without us making some changes. So I would, work with me or anyone you'd like and get them to help you. If you do want to add pages to it, we're going to have to adjust the size and padding so that it all fits, and then test again to make sure it's breaking in the right place on mobile, because you don't want it wrapping. I just downsized this until I got to the point at which I wanted to break it into the mobile menu, and then we have that. But other than that, feel free to rearrange and work with things in here. The other menus you have are this I want to menu. I also wanted to make it easy for you to add to that or take away from it. So when you're in the residence side, we're talking about this drop down. These are all pages on the site. So all you have to do, residence drop down. So we're on the right menu. If you don't want one in here, just expand it and hit remove. Say you wanted to add another page. And many of these I changed the name for the drop down the very way I showed you just now. So say we wanted to add learn about committees, which is probably already in there, but all you would do is check the page you want to add, click add to menu, and then you could come down here and type learn board committees, and then that would be in your I want to menu. You just hit save and that's it. So it's really easy to customize that menu. It should be something you can keep having all the really important information that you want people to be able to get to without much time or effort put into it. The other menus will be your news archive. All you're going to do to create the archive blocks, and again, I'm sorry they're not on the front end today, but within a couple days you'll see them there, so you can see how this correlates. Actually, I can add one of them back right now. The plugin apparently did blow away on my link, just the display of it. So this is great training. We're going to go into sidebars for a minute. Let's do so I had a block on the news sidebar that was called Online News Archive. And all I have to do is pull this advanced menu into it, select the archive. I had them by year, just a drop down for each year, name it, news archive, and click show as drop down. And then I'm just going to save. And then over on the news page, and we're going to go through this sidebar thing in more detail, so don't worry too much about what I'm doing here. We're mostly concerned about how these work as menus. I'm going to select news sidebar. And now on the news page, there's my 2014 archive, and I'll put 2015 above it. So you can have your online archives there. I think it's nice to break them out. I think it's intimidating when you go to a page and there's 10 years worth of archives listed. So, I think for at least 5 years you have them here with the most recent at the top. And I will put a title in here like I had originally that said Online News Archive. And then I also had a link right here, which I'll be adding back, that went to a typical list archives page in case you want that too. But this will be on every sidebar throughout the news section, so it's easy to get to. So back to menus. When you get a new newsletter, they tell you it's done and you have the PDF. All you'll do is come in here, select, if we're still in 2015, you pick 2015, select, and then instead of clicking to add a page, you're just going to add a link. Paste your link to the PDF here, you will upload it to your media library and copy the link, because it has to be on the site, and I'll walk you through doing that. But then you paste the link here. You can give it a title if you want. Let's call it December, or let's say it's April 18th. The menu. And it's going to take a second to load. And then it puts it right here. I can drag it up to the top or whatever. But that's how you're going to add your online news links once they're ready. And that applies to all of these. I think they're posted. Yeah, so it's not the PDF. You're just going to copy this link. Sorry, I was thinking you were PDF. So you'll come over, grab this link, add it right here, give it a title, add to menu, and you're done. Let's actually make April correct here. Go to, do you have the April link? Is it up on the site?
Yeah, April 15 is on the site.
Okay, let's just show you how this works, so you know what I'm talking about. Here's online. Like this. And I'm just going to copy this link. And then come back here. Paste it here. Move. Save menu. And then over here in my sidebar, I haven't added 2015 yet, so let's add 2015. New sidebar, we want to add an advanced menu. News, show drop down. I didn't type the title in, but you get the idea. And then you have those here. Let's go make that right. What online news? I think it's important that you make the distinction between the online news and the recent items. They're different, and it really concerned me how to organize that, but I don't really see a way. There's no way to combine them, obviously, so I think we should just be consistent that this is called your online news or online news archives, and I'll make all this consistent. And then these are recent news updates. So that's all you have to do when you get a new issue. You're just going to pick the year and add the link to it via the menu link function here. And that's all going to be much more detailed in here for you when I get this completely corrected tomorrow. So back to in-page editing. Let's go to the pages menu. Adding a video. All you have to do in WordPress these days to add a video, go to YouTube, find the video you want, yours used to come right up. Oh, there it is. Huh. Did you take some down?
No.
No.
Oh, that one on the home page used to come up, I think. So, say this is an example we were going to use.
They're all on my YouTube channel.
Well, let's just use this one for the sake of learning. You're going to click this share button, copy the link, and then over on your in your editor, you want to have a clean return. So hit return, paste the link. It automatically puts the player in.
Wow.
If it's a large video on YouTube, it'll fill the space. If it's not, then it's going to, align it. You can always come up and hit center if you want to center it in the space, but let's go to this. Yeah, pretty much does it based on the size of the video. There's no real control, which is what we want, because you wouldn't want it stretching out a video that's low res, that's small. So that's it. I mean, it does everything for you. We used to have to embed all the code, and and that's a good. The standard width is pretty good for this site. So that's really simple. Videos have been made very easy. And you did mention you wanted them opening in Lightbox. Typical behavior is that they play on the page, the way that one was, and some people kind of don't like the whole opening it over the window. I can do that. I did it over here on Dan Zadra's site. So let me show. I mean, I can't build what Facebook has because I'm not Facebook and I don't have 20 developers. But I can. I did this on Dan's where he wanted to use these tiny little icons, and I didn't want the videos playing there because obviously it's not big enough. But I did it where they open like this. So we could do something where they're going to open at their largest. They're going to open at their size. We can't force it to be bigger or smaller. So, it'll open above the window if that's what you'd like. Or you can just let it play in the page the way they're usually set up. The thing here is, if I set it up that way, it's not as some of them are one way and some are the other. It's everything will open above it. Any video is going to open that way rather than just playing in the page. And personally, I kind of like just being able to hit play and play it right here, but that's up to you.
And is there any preference that is in the room?
Little flag right
That?
Yeah, play right there.
Yeah, we like it to play right there too.
there. As long as you can
I
blow it
think
up
that's
if
a
you like.
good idea. I think it's one less thing for the user, because then they get that window open and it's JavaScript, and sometimes that can hang things up for people, and we don't want to cause frustration.
But they can still view it full screen, right?
Yeah, all you have to do is hit the
Yeah.
full screen button. So it's all that's built into the player. So that's good. I think that's a good decision. So sidebars, and widgets. By that I'm talking about anything in the right column. I made the site so that every single page could have a different sidebar if you wanted. Really, I think the best way to do it is per section. You have a section sidebar, which is how I've set this up. So all the pages in the homes at Oakmont. Well, this one I did differently because we wanted floor plans in there. But generally, I think, maybe I did. As I was working on it, I think wherever appropriate, I just went ahead and made a unique sidebar. It makes it nice because you can have information that's really specific to what you're talking about, or you could do one that's just the same for the whole section. That was an important feature that I wanted to make sure you had. A lot of sites, you just got one sidebar on every single page. So the way this works, you edit these in, and I'm going to close these extra windows so we don't get things confusing. Appearance, widgets. Widgets is the word in WordPress for anything like that that's on a sidebar. And this walks you through it step by step. It shows you how to choose the sidebar for the page. So just so you know, it is here. You can see where I've made unique sidebars. And as I'm going along, and it's easy to do this as you're working. You add a new page to the site and you go, well gosh, I want a nice photo in that, I want separate information. You should create a new sidebar, give it a name, or a new page. And that's it. And then you can drag in, say you wanted a nice block with an image and some text. You'll drag over this visual editor, which gives you the same editor you have on pages in the site. You can upload an image, align it, type some text. You can have a title, which will be the heading in this red, bulleted list, anything you want. And then just hit save. And then to indicate on the page where you want that sidebar, we're going to get rid of this one. you would go to your new page that you created, say this is it. Right over here, you've got a drop down where you can pick the sidebar you want. So for some clients, you know, it's made sense to just tell them create 2 or 3. One might be, you know, activities sidebar, one might be general information. A few fallbacks where if you're making a new page, you can quickly pick an appropriate sidebar. If you don't pick anything, if you leave this blank, it's just going to default to your basic sidebar, which I believe at this point I have empty. But you could always put, you know, a contact block or something pretty basic in there that you know is going to be saved. Oh, it's got the search point. So if you don't do anything, it's going to default to this. So you don't have to do this. But, and you can also pick one that already exists. If you like the content one somewhere else on the site, just select that one in the drop-down. Does that make sense?
Yes. Everybody?
Yeah.
And I know this is a lot. I know it feels overwhelming. That's totally normal. You're not unique that way. So I always tell people, work through with this. When you get this, it's going to be even more detailed. And this will be, I want to wait to give you this until tomorrow when I've had a chance to fix up the sidebar issue so I can make sure my instructions match the functionality. So it'll be by end of day tomorrow. And then when we're all done, I'll probably do another pass and make sure there's nothing missing. And you're going to have totally separate documentation for your calendar. So you'll have it all right here. You can do a screen share with me. You can call, email. It's totally normal that I'll do 2 or 3 sessions with a new client after they launch to get them comfortable with editing. So, you know, don't feel like this is a one-time training. Your calendar, I'm going to make a documentation that's separate for it. I finally got a March import file from Jesus, and I'm going to be adding that as soon as I can. It'll probably be early next week. But the one thing he said, and he didn't mention this before this week, is right now he's generating that manually. He said to let you know there needs to be a way to do that automatically. I'm not sure where I come in there. I don't know if he just wants you to know that's going to have to be a task that they deal with to automate this somehow. But right now what he's doing is generating the spreadsheet by manually selecting what he wants in it for me. And I really thought, you know, when I talked to him a couple months ago, he said, oh yeah, that's not a problem, we can do an export file, and I didn't see any issue there. So it's probably worth whoever is the appropriate person having a conversation with him to find out what automating this process means on his end. It's my end's all done, and I need for you guys to be able to get a decent export file from it. And then what's going to happen?
Debbie,
here, you'll
Debbie.
have another PDF that covers this, but all you're going to do for your monthly event is come into in your dashboard. You're going to click on event, and then import CSV. When you hit import, let's just choose a file so I can show you quickly. And you hit import. What the system is going to do is ask you, oh, okay, the latest file he sent me doesn't have the titles right, so I need to reformat it. But what you're going to see here when it's set up the right way is it'll map it to the field here. It's going to ask you which column in the CSV you want to see the title, which one do you want to see the description, the time of day. It's going to ask you to just select from the drop down how they connect to each other, and then it populates this. It does everything for every event. If none of these exist, they don't display on the event page. So this part of the system is working great. I did it with a dummy spreadsheet. It was beautiful, but I need to get this spreadsheet generation better from him. And part of the problem is I know he's been on vacation, so that took a while, but it's just been tough kind of going back and forth there. So,
Okay, Debbie,
yeah.
I'm gonna ask, and it could be Kat, it could be Marcia? Yes, Marcia, to deal with, Jesus and then get back to you.
Thank you. Just talk to him about what he thinks is the best way to automate this, because what you need to get is 1 month at a time, or whatever the frequency of the calendar. I think it's monthly, correct?
Correct.
So tell him you're trying to get to the best way to set this up so that you get 1 month with the fields that I gave him. I sent him a list of these fields. If there are more, that's fine. We can choose to ignore them.
Okay, Marcia has a comment.
Okay.
I don't know how this is gonna work. Is it based on importing it directly from our scheduler? Because this needs to be edited. Does that involve editing, or is this just direct import and importation?
No, it's not from your scheduler. Jesus did an import file for me that excluded private items. It was only the public things that should show up on the site. And I'm not sure how he made that distinction, but I asked him about that, and he said the export only had things that were okay to be public. So
Okay, because every month I take the calendar and I import it into Excel, and then it goes to the newspaper. And it takes hours to clean it up and make it so that the public can look at it. Can't we use
it's not going
that?
to take hours to clean it up here, because we're just going to map to
There's things
correct-
that have to
pick
come
the
off.
correct column, but he does need to be able to figure out a way to get the export set up the way I asked him. And he originally told me that wasn't a problem. I'm not assuming that it's doable. That's what he told me. So I'm assuming we can get there.
Oh, thank you.
Well, we'll talk with, we need to talk with him sooner than later and figure out what he told you, and then what he's telling Marcia with what he's giving Marcia. I'm not real comfortable, to be honest with you, with what he's providing. So,
I have some emails, some of our discussions. One of them was a call where we talked about a lot of this. I felt like he was pretty confident that he could do this. So
Okay.
yeah, talk with him and see if there's some hang up. I need to know, because I moved ahead with the system on his assurance that we could import
right.
on the fields I gave him. So,
Right. Would it be helpful if we set up a conference call with you and Marcia and him?
I'm okay with that. Whatever works best for you guys.
Okay. All right. We'll work on that. Thank you. Okay. Sorry for the interruption.
No
Debbie,
problem.
can
Those are
we,
good questions. I've been really worried about the calendar. I had hoped to have that days long before now, so
Yeah.
that's been a big issue.
is there a way to do daily? Just add in to the CSV file?
You don't have to add to the CSV. You can come in the system. You can edit any event that's been imported just by going to the full events list here. Once it's been imported, you can select it here and edit it like any other content.
Oh, okay.
You can add a new one. You can add new venues. Right now, I think I just have the community center, but I figured it would be nice to go ahead and add all the venues there in the community, because they're not going to change that much. So we should probably just add those and what's different. And then as new ones that are unique come along, it'll import them, so that's fine. It's going to put the correct venue in the field.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, you'll be able to get in there and add something, right the day after you do the monthly newsletter. If you have a new event, you can come in and add it. It'll show up on the calendar.
Yeah, well, this kind of ties into our media display panel that we were thinking about having, because we wanted an update of the various things that are happening that day.
Well, we could do on that WordPress, I think you had a separate WordPress install for that, is do a query that only queries events for the current date and lists them out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that would that would be a great solution to that. And if you added something, it's going to show up because it's showing anything with that date on it.
Okay.
Okay, the other thing that's a little different is the home page, rather than being a static image, is the slider. So you've got captions in it, you've got images that rotate. That is all done through, and this is all described for you with images right here through this Soliloquy tab. So this says home slider. You're just going to click edit or click the name of it just like you would if you were editing a page. All you do is drag an image in. And again, make sure they're that width that I gave you, at least 1140 pixels wide, but if they're a little larger, it'll crop inside some. And then it'll show up here just like these. If you want a caption on it, you hit this, and I've got here add captions here because I think this is so easy to miss. It's right here. It's got a little editor where you can type the caption, hit save metadata, and that's what appears over here. So don't be too, don't go long there because it might look good on the desktop, but you've got to watch what's happening here. If it's long, it might exceed the banner. So 3 lines is really all a caption should be on a big photo anyway. I mean, you wouldn't want to have a whole lot of brightness. So that's all you have to do for your slider. If there's only one, it's just going to show, like if you came in and deleted the second image, it'll look just like the rest of the site, like it's a static image. It only does the rotation if there's more than one image. This section of the documentation talks about editing your admin info. So say you wanted to give people access to the site, but you don't want them to be able to publish pages or have full admin privileges. This shows you the different levels of access and what they're allowed to do. And then over here, you would control that in the user's menu. When you add a new user, you pick their role right here, and this in the documentation tells you what that role is allowed to do. So if you wanted to add an intern or somebody in the office or whatever, anyone who you just didn't want to be able to publish anything they want, you might take their role down to a contributor. They can only write and manage their own posts, and they can't publish them. There's a video about that on the video page as well. So the training page, the one video I want to point out to everyone, because I don't think it's optional. Of course, it is if you want it to be, but if there's only one video you watch on this page, watch how to use the visual editor. It's going in detail into this interface when you're editing content. Go back over here. In here, this is the visual editor. So this is what we're talking about. It has the ability to go into text mode, if you need to add a little code, and then you're back in here. This video takes the mystery out of it. And I often see, pages where there's big white spaces and characters that aren't right. It's the client's not understanding using that editor. So this is worth watching. It's not long, really well done. That's the one I recommend. But then there are very good videos for other things. If you had the blog on, this might apply. Revision system. Great to understand that. Somebody comes in, messes up this whole page, accidentally saves it. You don't need to call me and go, I blew away the Home Sonoma page. All you have to do is click on Revision, browse. Let's go back here. How did that one look? Okay, January 16th looks good. I just hit restore this revision. And it's that simple. You've saved, the old data. So you've got several revisions in the system. You can always just roll back. This training video explains that in detail. Embedding videos is here, using the featured image functionality. is adding a gallery. It's all built in. You have that in your system. If you wanted a gallery that looked like this, let's just say a little thumbnail gallery, like the one over on this page. Like this. It's easy to do. You've got all this functionality. So, you know, all you'd have to do is watch that video, figure out how it works, and you'd have your image gallery. So now I usually open it up for questions. And of course I expect a lot more of them later. So any questions?
Debbie, what happens if 4 of us are all editing at once? Does there need to be a lead video person and a lead copy, or what? What's your best recommendation? I
would coordinate. I wouldn't want to have a whole bunch of people have access to it. I mean, a dozen, sure, but I would coordinate time, really, honestly. What's going to happen in the system is if you save it and then 2 seconds later Dutch saves the version he was working on, Dutch's will be the one that shows up on the site because it's the most recent save. So I think it's probably smart to kind of coordinate when you go in and work on the site. Of course, the revision system would have your saves, one back from his, so you could resolve it that way, but it's really not going to alert you. Now, it does have, if you're both on the very same page, you are going to see a bar at the top that says Jackie is editing this page right now. So it does warn you, and you can just back out and wait and come back later.
That's good.
The problem with that is one of the developers who worked for me at Safari would never log out. He'd walk away and stay logged in all day long.
Oh.
I never knew if he was really editing it or not. So it's a good idea to remember that, and when you're done editing, log out.
Okay, that's good.
Can you give users levels of access to some pages without giving them levels of access to other pages?
The role, editing roles is really global, but there are plugins that do a really good job of making that very granular. It's not really simple to add them, but it is out there, that functionality where you can give a different level based on the page. Anything else?
I think we'll probably have more questions as we start playing with it.
Exactly, and that's exactly what I find. People, you know, a week passes or whatever, you get into it, and that's when you need to get into a screen share with me or call me, and that's when you really learn. I mean, this is a good overview, but you learn when you get in there and you're doing it.
Okay. All right. So then you'll let us know when you've made the changes you want to make and when you're going to give us.
I'm going to go as fast as I can with that. I'm sorry about the delay on that. I want to get this right, and I don't want to hand it over to you if I'm not confident that that's going to work for you for years.
No, we appreciate that. Okay. All right. Anybody?
Okay, I'll keep you posted on that. And, you know, in the first few weeks, it's a good idea to just keep a running list as you think of something. Keep a list of questions. You guys could even set up a Google Doc, and, you know, that way you can just make sure you don't miss anything. Or, like I said, we can do screen shares, whatever works.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you,
Debbie.
Debbie.
Thank you.
It was great, Debbie.
You're
Thanks.
welcome. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Go with the phone.
You are the last party in the conference.
The red button on the left.
Let's give it feedback.
Because you took it off speaker, but it doesn't.
It doesn't connect it.
Yeah, just top left red button.
There you go.
Okay. All right. So. Oh.
I don't know.
Oh my God.
Well.
It's intuitive when you get, and how long that takes to get familiar with what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah.
And until then,